Hello, I'm going to go straight into another video. My last one was a bit of a morning rant for my mental health, and I'm still a bit very stressed. I still have the feelings of wanting to scream at the top of my lungs and take a hammer to my door frame, but I'm trying not to. So the first video was a bit of a failure with the massage going in the fucking background making all that noise. I wonder if anyone will listen to it, but I thought I need to focus and I need to do something else when my body's being fucking raped. That's what it feels like on a mental health level, on an energetic level. And in all of my, I'm still here by the way, in all of my sanity, this was actually taking place regardless. I'm being molested on some level. I must have done something in a past life. At present, get this one. At present, my mental health is trying to tell me I'm the reincarnation of somehow of Michael Jackson, and I'm suffering this bollocks because of what he did in his life. So I'll leave that one to you. I don't believe it. I don't know where this is going to go because I'm very worked up. I have no subject matter. I'm hoping I am still here. I'm hoping that I spend maybe 30 seconds, a minute now figuring out what I'm going to talk about, and then just post a comment in the title description saying skip to this section. So if anyone is listening, hopefully I don't bore you too much on a Sunday morning. Right, I was going to talk about birds. Birds. Yes, birds. Birds have accompanied me through my mental health. 2017, hardest time of my life. Experience that's so ingrained into my bones. Even if I lost my mind and had my muscles replaced, sorry to be so graphic, I think I'd still remember. – 2017, hardest experience of my life. Living on a boat on land, no heating, no insulation. There was nothing there. It was a barren boat whilst I was to renovate it. Halfway through the renovation, I fucking hate life. What I'm experiencing and having to suppress at present is a joke. But, I was going to renovate it and then put it back on the water. That was the plan. And it didn't quite go that way. My mental health. I felt sorry for myself. That was the biggest thing. I felt sorry for myself. And everything got on top of me and just turned out to be a very an experience that I would have rather not had. Anyway, it happened, and whilst there, the one day towards the end, there was a bird, and it was resting in a bush, by a bush. He was resting by a bush. almost behind and rear to the left of the boat I was in, and it was by a path. It was by a path, and when you look at it, it was standing there quite proud, but it was drunk from what I remember. That's how I remember it. I don't know if my memory's making it up. It just looked drunk in its eyes, and I could tell it was unwell. God knows how many people walked past that bird. Thank you for bearing with me while I take my morning supplements, half of them. God knows how many heartless fucking humans walk past that fucking bird and let it stand there in pain. But I spotted it, and I could tell it was unwell. I tried to check it out. I was probably worked up from my own mental health to really focus and deal with it clearly, but contacted different organisations, RSPCA, the National Wildlife, blah blah blah. Finally found somewhere. They said you can get it to a vet. The vets are obliged to take on the cost of, or passed on the cost to us. So that's how you'll be able to get it help. That's how you'll be able to get it help. So in my state, in my madness, I put in a little bit of effort there. There was someone else who was staying in the boatyard at the time, and she had a car. She helped me get it to halfway to the vets. I let her take it all the way, but apparently it died on the way. That's the first memory I have of birds really playing a part in my life over my mental health of the past few years. That's when it would have started, and it was so right now my energy's being raped on certain fucking things. It's like a consciousness takes my energy and says, right, Andres, you want to talk about that? I'm going to fuck your energy at the same time. I don't give a shit. I'm making this statement to camera because it feels like there's a consciousness that runs my life beyond me. And at present, it doesn't know how to fucking create an enjoyable life in any way. And if it's not trying to create an enjoyable life, then what the fuck is it doing? What it's actually doing isn't nice. So this is a chance for me, and I'm jumping all over the place within conversation. And I'm just taking liberties that if anyone is fucking listening, because I don't believe a single soul is, that they forgive me for the way I speak, and they're taking the chance to address the consciousness that governs my mental health in the midst of a story about birds. But fuck you, the consciousness that runs my mental health, you raping fucking bastard. How fucking dare you jump on my life and emphasize anything I say. Anyway, thank you for that. See, if I don't prevent them there like that calmly, they build up, and I'm a bit of a wild cannon, so to speak. It's not the right phrase, but you know what I mean. So this bird, it was very majestic, it was very proud, but even if it in its death, and it's fucking doing it again. So at the moment, my energy is being fucking raped. I need to have some supplements that will deal with that. Thank you for your patience and understanding. I'm still here, right? So let's talk to you whilst I'm in the kitchen. This bird that was standing there, that was very majestic. In its death, you could tell it was fucking dying, and it was standing there in my mind. So I'm gonna say it as I see it, without the need to be fucking raped. It's standing there very majestic. Oh, my body's just listened. Somehow my body listens every so often when I make a statement that makes sense. I can feel like a big ball of energy that was sitting on my fucking kidney. I'm sorry for the foul language, I don't like swearing at all. But it was sitting on my fucking kidney and it was instigating the fucking rape that my fucking body is going through at present. And somehow, and it's doing it again, not to the same extent, somehow, by expressing it, get this, it hears. And sometimes it stops. So, that's why I do what I do. This bird was sitting there, dying. You could tell it was fighting for its life. This is what my memory tells me. I might just be making an extra pleasant story for you all, but I'm not going to nitpick with my fucking memory, man. So, try and get a point out of the kitchen at least so you can see my messed up appearance whilst I'm I'll have to do. Anyway, it died. Later on I did the research and I'm pretty sure it was a sparrowhawk, if that means anything. All I know is that I live in London and see anything other than a fucking pigeon. I live in London and see anything other than a pigeon and a seagull is a blessing. So fucking stop fucking rape! This is me, this is my mental health. I get raped energetically. So it was a sparrowhawk and it died. Later on, can't remember how many months later, I think the following year, I found out from my father, who I wasn't in contact with at the time, that my grandmother, and again my energy, I don't give a fuck about anything, I'm heartless. And at the moment my energy is like, it jumps on little bits of emotion that other people might find interesting, and it rapes me nonetheless. I'm a heartless person, I have no emotion to attach to. So what my energy is being raped for. So this is a very interesting video if you're really wanting to see someone with a mental health disorder talk through it. But right now I'm struggling, and I appreciate if it's a Sunday morning and people just want to go about their day. This is a bit more intense than they would have otherwise wanted. But I'm trying to tell a story and deal with my mental health at the same time. That's this video. If you wanted to listen for something else, then go away. That's this video. That's what this video is. Me talking through my mental health where I'm being fucking energetically raped. I'm trying to tell you a story at the same time. Later on, the following year, my dad, I found out my gran had passed in Cyprus. she was. I'm not even going to get into it anyway. She passed away. She passed away. But that was the first noticeable interaction I had with birds over the course of my mental health and spiritual development. Right, next one. So the energy rape has calmed down for the minute, so it allows me to speak a little bit calmer. My body's still in a bad way, but we'll see how this goes from the part. After that experience that summer, 2017, I ended up in hospital around the November period the same year, and on that admission, I was, I don't know, I was under severe pressure from everything. And on leave one day, so when you're in a mental health ward, you get leave if you're not informal. So if you don't take yourself there, you find yourself there as a result of bad behaviour. You get assigned leave. So the doctor will say, right, Andreas, in your recovery, it's appropriate for you to have 8 half-hour leaves in a day, for instance. And on one of those leaves, I can't remember if it was escorted by a nurse or not, but I was walking along the street and I saw a dead pigeon on the floor. And it really did affect me. I don't know why. I think I was just under so much pressure. I was just under so much pressure. I really don't remember the exact course of thinking. At present, I think I took it as a sign. My present estimate of what was going through my head, so I could be wrong, was that I took it as a sign that something bad was going to happen. I thought a dead pigeon, it was just like, I don't know, I really don't recall, but I remember going back to the hospital, going back to the ward, and there being art therapy at the time. And I drew a picture of that pigeon. I drew a picture of the pigeon, and I remember that my nervous system was under so much pressure. I'm trying to get my standing chair to click. Anyway, I was under so much pressure. My nervous system was erratic. And the pressure I was under to draw that picture was ridiculous. But nonetheless, I drew a picture of a dead pigeon. And that's when it really did kick off, this interaction with birds as a spiritual sign. I guess I instigated by seeing it as a sign, or allowed it to be instigated. Anyway, I can't remember the course of events, but I think I found myself, it just, I can't remember. I just have to be all over the place because I just can't deal with my body. So I prefer to be a mess for the rest of my life, trying to wait for my nervous system to come back than to rest in this bollocks that is my body. So after hospital, I found myself in temporary accommodation. From temporary accommodation, I found a permanent council residence, and that's when the birds really took off. This one's turning into a bit of a story today. This is 20 minutes already. Gosh, if anyone does make it through to the end, please do just post, because the day it happens, I don't know. Discharged from hospital a certain amount of months later. The shaking isn't a problem if anyone's watching me like this and feeling uncomfortable. The shaking is a good sign. If I could shake all the time, I'd get myself healthy in next to no time. My nervous system is so messed up. Something happened around the turn of the year after that same admission, where my nervous system disappeared, and somehow shaking allows me to rest in my nervous system. And because I'm mentally aware of what I'm doing and I'm resting in my actual nervous system instead of this body minus my nervous system, it makes my life easier. It tells me that I'm getting back to health. So I allow myself to shake, and I ask you to allow me to shake, please. So we found my council property. That's when spirituality decided to teach me a lesson for seeing births as a sign. I'll give you this one in a quick rundown because I don't want to go into the subject matter in case it impresses anyone, because I can hear the way I'm speaking. And that is right. When I got my council property, I was already of the mindset, I'm staying out of hospital. I am staying out of motherfucking hospital. There's not a reason I am going back to hospital ever. As long as I stay in control of my actions, there isn't a reason I should be admitted. So that's what I went to work on. That's what I went to work on, staying out of hospital. But I would still see birds as a sign of spirituality. What happened was, in that period after hospital, is I realised I needed to trim stuff back. I realised that my psychosis would be affected by the media, it would be affected by the internet, so I went on a massive diet. I limited the way I consumed information. I limited the way I consumed information. I limited spirituality, which is this infinite possibility that is essentially life, and an infinite possibility on top of that. I limited it down to birds. I allowed this thing that I loved so much, that is in every aspect of life, I limited it down to birds, because I had a serious mental health disorder, and as much as I love spirituality, there's no point to it if it's going to ruin the rest of my life, is there? How can I claim to be spiritual, about seeing the world in all these weird and wonderful ways, being synesthetic and talking about interrelation of consciousness, blah blah blah. I'm fucking mad to begin with. How can I go to a doctor who wants to give me medication about how I made a decision on a very important subject matter due to my spiritual beliefs, which I've spent the best part of my life defining as myself? How can I go and tell a doctor that I've done something, anything, based upon a spiritual thought and idea, when he's sitting there with the potential to ruin my life, and the premise to that medication being administered is how sane I am. Now, how the hell am I going to go and tell a doctor I've made any decision, even if it's how I brush my teeth in the morning, based upon something spiritual? I don't want to take that risk. So I thought, what can I do? I'll confine it to birds. I've just realised what I did. I'll confine it to birds. It sounds a bit sane, doesn't it? It's expressing it to someone that I've taken this thing that was my life, that I lived for, breathed and died for, and because of this very serious mental health disorder, I've made it something small and something manageable. I think that showed sanity in some way and possible forgiveness, so I could at least keep something of spirituality instead of having to chop it all off. So I told you spirituality became birds. It's what I live for, isn't it? I've just realised that. It's what I lived for. It's what I held as an external reference. Birds. Birds began to define my life because I tried to be sensible about spirituality. And the way it happened was that I'd see a dead bird, no, I think there was a bird that came and nested at my door one night. That's what happened. There was an injured bird, I can't remember. It came and rested at my door one day. And I think I must have been going through my mental health stuff at the time, and for whatever reason I didn't help it. And later on, I think that bird wound up at my next door neighbour's door. This is from what I remember. This could have even been two different stories combined into one, but anyway, I've been affected by birds. This is the story. Wound up my next door neighbour's door. I did make means to get it help, RSPCA, blah blah blah. But he died. And yeah, I disposed of the bird and left my neighbour a message saying that the bird had died. This was before I introduced myself properly from my shouting to my neighbour. Still at a time when I could hold face in front of my neighbours. So yeah, I took it as a sign again. simple. I did. I also had to shut down signs. I had to shut down synesthesia because it wasn't appropriate to doctors, was it? But anything of the past, that was my past. I'm not going to change my past, am I? So any signs that were concrete from the past would still have ground. But I just wouldn't do anything new. So in this instance, with birds, spirituality, the only thing I really gave myself was the ability to see death as a bad sign. I couldn't create new signs. I wasn't able to say, like, if I see a bird flying like this and that and the other, it's positive. I just had spirituality with the possibility to give me a bad sign. that became spirituality, and I couldn't see that, or I couldn't admit to myself that that was the situation. I had to cut off spirituality all the same. I suppose it was a dying process for spirituality to some extent. Anyway, that experience of really ramped up anxiety. So I saw a bird that was dying. In my mind, it was like, right, the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be like extremely hard. Let's knuckle down and get to work with this. Let's make sure that nothing bad happens. And I did everything I could each time to get on top of my mental health. And basically that would happen time after time. The amount of birds I would see dead grew and grew. The amount of chopped off bits of bird my eyes would find. Yeah, that was a period of intense anxiety. Dead bird after dead bird. It's funny because I told you about the bird I drew in hospital. If you want to really take it as a sign, my uncle died maybe 2-3 months of coming out of that admission of hospital, and there was a gentleman standing over me whilst I was doing the bird who in some way reminded me of my uncle. So maybe that was a sign my uncle was dying. My uncle might as well be the living incarnation of spirituality in my life. Dead bird after dead bird. I realised what was happening, and I had to make the sensible decision and say, right, well, I've got myself in a situation where spirituality is ruining my life. I have to lop off spirituality. So I did that. And the birds still don't leave me alone. Pigeons nesting at my door. Pigeons nesting in my elevator to the building. Pigeons nesting on my balcony. My balcony, not anybody else's balcony, but my bloody balcony. I get pigeons nesting on there. Must be the ozone generator I bought, yeah? I don't know what else it is. So, that's my little rundown for birds. I would say, since I'm a bit calmer, and I know it's not still fully there, what's happened is whatever bastard is in control of my energy system has wrapped me up in such a way that it's like perceived rest within something that's a very, very ill. And they want me to rest in that and be happy in that. So that's what I'm experiencing right now. I see my mental health as a consciousness, someone taking conscious decisions upon my life, and they want me to rest in a body that's in ill health and unwell as a result of their mental assertions upon my life. Anyway, I'm waffling. What I wanted to say is, if you heard of the story of the North American and South American Indians, where they're essentially waiting for a sign of the eagle of the north to meet the condor of the south in the skies. So when that's seen, it's gonna, and I'm being raped again, it's gonna be some sort of positive sign for the whole world. I didn't think much of it, but I saw a video of what a condor actually looked like, and just seeing what a condor looks like was magical of itself. No point to that, just wanted to share. Right, have a lovely Sunday.